Hello, and welcome to Cooking Time. I'm David Martone, Executive Chef at Classic Thyme Cooking School. Tonight we have a really special show for you. I just had a trip to Cuba, so I'm going to give you some foods that are influenced by actually Africa in the Cuban cuisine. Just an amazing show. We've got 3 different dishes. A dish that you might have heard from other places, arroz con pollo, a stewed okra, and a wonderful quick shrimp dish that somebody cooked for me down there. So we'll be right back with this wonderful show with African Cuban cuisine. Hello, and welcome to Cooking Time. We're back. My wonderful trip to Cuba, studying the African food influence on Cuban cuisine and culture. Lots of different stuff to talk about. I just want to get going. I'm going to start the first dish. It's arroz con pollo, a chicken with rice and beans dish. I'm going to get our chicken prepared with a little paprika. Justin's going to put a little bit of that rice, a couple of cups in a bowl for me. And that's going to be one of the last ingredients that will go after this chicken. So I'm putting some smoked paprika. You know, one of the things that came from Africa to everywhere else was the use of smoked ingredients as a flavoring. So we're using smoked paprika. I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on this chicken, and then we're going to flour it, and we're going to, thank you, Justin. He's a lifesaver. We're going to flour this up, put a little oil in our pan. I'm going to put a little oil in this pan also for our okra. And get these pieces of chicken starting to roast. That's how you can tell it's hot. So yes, I went on an educational trip to Cuba with the head of the African Studies in the Anthropology Department at Kane University. His name is Dr. James Conyers, known to us on the trip, but only on the trip, as Brother James. And I felt like I got a private lesson on everything. If you've ever seen the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and you saw the father saying, "You give me a word, and I will show you its Greek origins." Dr. Conyers was so generous in giving information on everything, and showed me how the fingerprint of Africa is just all over the world. Just wonderful stuff. I mean, the Africans brought with them okra, black-eyed peas, and watermelon. 3 ingredients that we see everywhere. So while this chicken is starting to brown up, I'm actually going to get my okra dish going. And Africans also were the first to use okra as an ingredient to use as a thickener. Not only the wonderful okra to eat, but adding okra to different dishes. Think of New Orleans. Where would New Orleans be without gumbo, thickened with okra? So it's just an amazing story to follow the Africans as they were, taken against their will all over, but left their mark of wonderful, wonderful food ingredients. You'd never think about paella in Africa, but with the Moorish invasion of Spain and occupation of Spain back in the early 700s, I believe, Dr. James told me 711, the Moors invaded Spain. They're actually responsible for bringing saffron and introducing saffron to Spain. So paella might not have saffron in it if it weren't for the Africans and the Moors occupying part of Spain. So we have our onion, and again, this other dish is the okra. So chopping my garlic. Just want to add this to that as well. And it's not just food, it's religion, it's dance, it's culture, it's everything that a group brings with them that forever changes the place that they settle down in. And from the Caribbean over to southern United States, Louisiana, and then to the rest of the world. So we have garlic, we have onion, we have pepper going into our okra dish. Let's take a look at our chicken. Give this a little mix also. Now the okra, and I was lucky enough to get wonderful fresh okra today. I'm just going to slice it up. Okra has kind of a slimy substance that oozes out as you cut it. And that's what, in fact, you can see it kind of, when I pull it away, you can see it against the knife there. And that's what is a wonderful, wonderful thickening agent. Get as much of this in that pan as I can without overloading it, because we do have several other ingredients to put in that. But traveling through Cuba, we come to learn that the slaves that were brought from Western Africa, mostly the ethnic group Yoruba, brought with them not only some food and techniques, but also religion. The Santeria religion is a religion that is now a mix of Catholicism, actually, and widely practiced, and not the strange voodoo type of religion that most people think when they hear the word Santeria, but it is actually a religion that has gods, and they celebrate and pray to these gods and chant to these gods, just the way many Catholic ceremonies happen, and they're in fact combined so much with Catholicism. I think that'll be enough okra for us. Next, we're going to put plantain. Plantain has a much tougher skin than a regular banana, so I just like to kind of run my finger down one side to pull it open. And let's get a stir on our okra. Oh, this is looking wonderful. Cuba has such beautiful architecture, and the lost in time type of feel when you're there with the 1950 cars and the music and being in the Caribbean, just wonderful weather, just a lovely place. Poor community in many areas, but people are very proud and happy and ready to tell you everything about their community, and just a very lovely experience. We had some wonderful meals in private homes that people are now actually allowed to have these private restaurants in their homes. Being a socialist community, everything is run by the government. So they're now able to start to branch out, and I understand they're able to legally own their own homes, buy and sell homes, and apply for licensing to start these small businesses. So we had some onion, we had some garlic, we have our okra, we have our plantain. Going to kick up the heat, pick up my towel that I dropped. Add a little bit of, you can use a ham, or I'm using some pancetta, which is a type of a bacon, an Italian unsmoked bacon. I'm going to pull my pieces of chicken out. And we'll start adding our other ingredients, which we have garlic, some red pepper, and some onion. Kind of just shuffling things to the back, making room. So saffron. Saffron comes from the crocus flower, a particular type of crocus, and the individual little threads are hand-picked, those little stamens sticking out of the crocus. I understand that it takes about 80,000 pieces to make an ounce of saffron. And I pay sometimes $100 for an ounce of saffron in this wonderful little tin. But it is such a fragrant, wonderful, perfumey flavor. You can't even begin to think about certain dishes without saffron, especially paella. So while we see different countries occupy one another, they leave their indelible mark forever that not only stays in that country, but moves on to everywhere that country goes. So when Spain came to Cuba in, I believe, 1512, of course, it brought with us the Moorish influence. And when you see black beans and rice, now after the Moors occupied Spain, I believe it was actually the Christians that drove them out. And there's always these religious wars that occur. And it's funny that the Santeria religion has been so connected to the Catholic religion in Cuba. So you have this mismatch of different things that actually come together and form wonderful and new beginnings for things. So the Spanish came to Cuba, I believe in 1512, and not only brought the Moorish influence, but discovered the sugarcane trade. And with the sugarcane being exported and rum being made, they created a whole economy based on that, and then brought slaves in from Western Africa, which brought in all these different food items, and just wonderful. Steaming in leaves, boiling in water, cooking in deep frying, in oil, baking in ashes, which you'll see Cubans cooking whole pigs in pits with ashes. All comes from the African influence, so it's just pretty amazing. Okay, a little bit of cumin, abundant use of hot sauces, another thing from Africa. A little bit of vinegar. Some tomato puree, and some water. Here with our arroz de con pollo, going to add our rice now. I think that'll be enough. Let's stir that around. See everything getting a nice kind of yellowy, orangey hue here. Maybe just a hair more. What the heck? Put it all in. I'm never one for skimping when I'm cooking. Black-eyed peas. Again, our African influence. Tomato puree. And some stock. this wonderful arroz de con pollo. I'm going to keep this here in case I need a little bit more juice. And some of these dishes, especially the okra, from time to time, we may need to keep adding water to it or some liquid in case it starts to dry out. Oh yes, this is just coming lovely. Those plantains will just add some real nice little, almost a starchiness to this. I'm going to add a little bit more. We need a bay leaf in this. And now that this is coming to a simmer, going to put our pieces of chicken right on top. All that little bit of juice goes right in. We don't waste anything. And a little bit more tomato here. Okay. Keep everything organized. Keep clean, clean, and dirty where the dirty goes. Okay, I think we're good. Rinse on my knife. So we'll give one more stir to the okra, and then I have one dish that I'm going to do that's a pretty quick dish that was cooked for us while we were at the restaurant in a home, which is kind of a neat concept, like a little bed and breakfast almost. We need a little bit more water in this. I have a cousin who's an extremely good cook and very creative. And I remember years ago being at his house and him making a big fish stew, and then he added okra to it and made it into like a gumbo. And I'll never forget him cutting the okra and showing me how the okra has this texture inside that will actually thicken things up. So I have a variety of ingredients here to do a very quick little shrimp dish. We had these wonderful little shrimp, little rock shrimp that are poached very quickly, and I just wanted to lay them out and show you how white and crisp they are. They're watch when I break them. They just like pull apart rather than to just ooze liquid out of. So we're going to put these shrimp right in our bowl. We're going to put